My Cranberry Pecan Honey Broule has been fermenting for 2 hours. It's now ready to divide. I'm going to portion this into 750 gram pieces. And then I'm going to lightly round this just to realign the skin and prepare the dough for final shaping. I'm going to let the dough bench rest for 20 to 30 minutes covered in a humid environment to keep it from drying out, and then I'll final shape it. My Cranberry Pecan Honey Broule has bench rest for 20 to 30 minutes. I can final shape it round and let it ferment for its final fermentation period or proofing period directly on a board, but I prefer to allow it to rise in a banneton. It helps maintain its form very nicely. So to prepare the banneton or the willow basket, I'm just going to dust this with some bread flour. I want a uniform dusting. I don't want to be too heavy with that flour or it just won't look very pretty. So this is one finish that I can do, and it'll take on the ribbing of the banneton. Or I can take a couche cover and line the banneton if I want to stencil before baking. For that final shape round, my goal is to have good uniform gluten alignment, nice surface tension that will help retain the gases as this is rising and give me a nice uniform crust. It's a little bit trickier with the fruit and the pecans that are in here. I'm going to put it into my banneton with the seam side up. Again, my goal is to have a nice uniform skin. The cranberries will want to push out. I just want to make sure I don't have any directly on the surface or they will burn. So if they try to get away, I tuck them back into that seam. The honeyed cranberry pecan loaves have been proofing for about an hour and a half. When I press lightly on the side, it holds the impression of my finger. You remember this banneton did not have couche on it. When I turn it out, it should release fairly easily, and you can see that the ridges from the banneton remains. It's very pretty aesthetic. These I did line with couche, and I'm going to show you two different stenciled finishes for them. So one finish is to take a stencil of your choice. And simply dust over the stencil with some flour. You can create your own stencil or use a pre-made one. I don't want it to be too heavy on here, just a nice light dusting that will showcase the design. Alternatively, I might want to dust the surface of my loaf with a little bit of cocoa powder. This will provide a contrast color first and use such a light quantity that it's really, the flavor isn't noticed. Now when I put my stencil down, I'll have even greater contrast. Regardless of whether I stencil it or I put cocoa powder down, because I have the addition of honey, I'll have a really beautiful caramelization of sugars in the baking process. And now I'm going to score these. And I'm just going to use a simple hash mark score. It's important that I'm gliding my blade along the surface and I'm cutting uniformly from one end to the other. I may decide that I want to do more of a diamond for my other loaves by making that angle a little bit more pronounced. It's really baker's choice. It can be a little tricky to cut through when you've got the nuts interrupting. You just pretend they aren't there, keep cutting whether it gets in your way or not. I'll go ahead and I'll bake these with steam, about 3 seconds of steam, 440 degrees, and I'll watch the temperature to see if I need to reduce it all. If it's taking on browning a little too quickly, I'll reduce it by 10 degrees in the last 20 minutes of baking. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this cranberry pecan loaf. To try different types of honey, please consult bakingwithhoney.com, and for more information on honey varieties, consult www.honeylocator.com.